Hey guys, welcome to Access the Advantage Ivy League edition. Tony and I are here. We're your hosts. We're super excited to be hosting this event. As you probably know at this point, it's a panel style event. So we have lots of eager college students here to talk to you about their experiences with college admissions, with life on campus, and all fun things like that. So how it's going to work is you obviously can see us. We can't see you, but you can feel free to add any questions or type any questions that you have in the comments. And we will try and address all of them as we kind of go through each of the specific sections. So just a quick agenda that we have here. We will introduce ourselves on the next slide. I already kind of give you a little overview of the event and how it works, but we will also kind of talk about details of the scholarship, which I guess I can touch on right now. If you guys stay on until the end of the event, we will be choosing one person at random to win our $500 scholarship. So be sure that you stay on until the end because that's when we will be picking the winner. Here are the 5 sections that we're going to be covering. The first one being introducing the panelists, then talking about the college admissions process. Sections 3 and 4 are talking about on-campus academics and just life in general. And then section 5 will just kind of save for general tips, tricks, advice, any other questions that you guys have. So yeah, Tony, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's up, everyone? Happy Saturday. Coach Tony here with College Admissions Secrets. I'm your college admissions expert. I am super pumped to be here. A lot of you all have always asked me like, hey, can you bring more Ivy League students? What was it like to apply to an Ivy League? So I partnered up with the best scholarship expert out there and to bring on the top Ivy League students from all over to share their experiences with you today. I'm super, super pumped. I see lots of you guys jumping in the comments, and we want to make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to flood the comments as much as you want with any kudos, anything you loved, any takeaways, any questions you have as well too. And we'll do our best to answer as many questions today as possible.
Awesome. Yeah. And as I kind of said, I'm Aiden. I run Access Scholarships. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison last May. Super excited to be here hosting this event for you guys and helping you guys navigate the whole process of college admissions, picking a school, applying, and just trying to give you guys like the best idea in terms of what it's like to apply to and attend an Ivy League school. So with that, I think we have our event overview, which, as I mentioned, it's a panel style event. If you have a question that's relevant to the given section that we're discussing, feel free to write it in the chat and we'll try our hardest to address it. And as I mentioned, we'll be announcing the $500 scholarship winner at the very end, so make sure that you stay if you want the chance to win. So now we're going to introduce all of our panelists. Tony, do you want to just put up their faces instead?
Yeah, of course. Let's go ahead and bring everyone back on.
Sweet. We had everyone hidden before uninviting them. So now we have our panelists. Maybe starting with Julia, we can just kind of go through and why don't you introduce yourself, tell us your school, your year, and anything else that you want to mention.
Yeah, hi, I'm Julia. I go to Columbia University. I'm a junior, but I won't be graduating for another couple of years. Timeline is unclear. I study Slavic language and culture, and I may be going on a business track as well, and I'm definitely going for that master's. And my interests are with art and reading and learning languages.
Awesome. Jaja?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jaja. Super excited to be here. It's really nice to meet you guys. I go to the University of Pennsylvania right now, and I'm a freshman. I'm studying economics as we speak, but that might change. I really don't know. It depends on if I pass that class this semester. I'm also a Questbridge scholar, so if you have any questions regarding low-income students or first-generation students, I'm right here to answer.
Awesome. Chris?
How's it going? I'm Chris. I'm a junior at Dartmouth. I'm studying psychology here and pre-med. Play rugby here. Yeah.
Cool. Kelly?
Hi everyone, I'm a junior at Yale University. I'm studying computer science. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. In my free time, I do a lot of stuff involving STEM education and women and gender minorities empowerment in STEM on campus.
Super awesome. Brianna?
Hi, I'm Brianna. I'm a freshman at Brown University and I'm from Chicago. I'm planning on double concentrating in public health and business econ, but business econ is up in the air. There'll be something, but we'll figure that part out later. I am a Questbridge scholar too, and I'm also a Gates scholar and a Chicago scholar. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. And then in terms of interest, I love dancing, cooking, writing poetry, and I'm involved in a few things on campus. Yeah.
Amazing. Sydney, you're up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sydney. I'm a freshman at Cornell University studying psychology with a focus on neuroscience and behavior. I'm also a part of the volleyball team at Cornell, so if anyone has any questions regarding the student-athlete experience. And on campus, I do a lot of advocacy for female athletes and diverse athletes as well, along with mental health.
Amazing. Gabby?
Hey everyone, my name is Gabby, and of course I go to Princeton. I'm majoring in medical anthropology and pursuing 2 certificates in gender and sexuality studies and African American studies. I'm currently a junior, and I'm also a Coca-Cola scholar and a Jackie Robinson Foundation scholar. On campus, I'm the co-founder and president of Our Health Matters, which is centered around holistic health, mental health, personal health, professional health. And then I also co-founded a mentorship initiative as well as Grown with Gabby, where I help connect students to scholarship opportunities.
Yep, Gabby's like one of the best in this space as well, and we've been collabing on a ton of other stuff together. So naturally, I had to drag her into this.
Yes, apply for our scholarship too. It's due May 31st.
I will definitely be plugging it at the end. Don't you worry. So that is everyone. You may be wondering, where's Harvard? We have not forgotten about Harvard. That will be kind of like a separate event that we will be doing another time because our Harvard rep unfortunately had another matter that he had to take care of. So if you're here for Harvard, don't worry because we will be doing a follow-up event on that on its own. But we are so excited to have all of our awesome panelists here. As you can see, as you can tell, they have a lot of experiences and they're all going after so many different initiatives and majors and studying lots of different things. So feel free to ask them questions about anything related to all of those things, really. And I think with that, now that we've gone through the introductions, we can start directly with round 2, which is talking about the college admissions process. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat that you have specifically about the college admissions process. But the first one that I have on my list was what high school activities do you think should be focused on the most in order to get into an Ivy League school? Or just what activities did you guys participate in high school that you feel best prepared you to apply and attend an Ivy League school? Kelly?
Yeah, for me, I really just focused on my interests, and that's what I've constantly heard on from the Yale admissions officers when they're trying to decide. People ask me all the time, like, oh, what activity should I be doing? It's really, you need to be doing stuff that you're passionate about. So they can tell on your application, if you've been playing violin since 5, but you really don't like it, that's not as great as maybe playing like, the flute or something, but you really love it, but maybe you're not the best. So for me, I was involved in a lot of robotics. I also was a majorette in high school. I also did something called 4-H. So I actually raised animals and showed them. So I had a very, very diverse range of activities, but I was very passionate about all of them. So that's what they kind of look for, is they look for the passion and they look for, how diverse are your range of interests and stuff. So don't worry about being the best in everything you do. Focus on picking things that you love to do and really communicating that on your application.
Awesome. Totally agreed. I think Jaja, maybe your hand was up as well.
Oh, yeah. Something that I think is super important for when you're listing your activities is any sort of activity where you made a contribution that changed the club or the group that you're in. I think that if you show initiative beyond just being a part of that club, that's something that really helps. For instance, I was part of Avid and the leadership community, and just adding in my own personal details of, oh, I expanded it by this, or I started my own fundraiser in this way to better it for the future purposes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think leadership is a huge thing, right? So I'm super glad that you brought that up. Anyone else? Sydney?
Yeah, I think another thing that's really great is I think especially for the Ivy League, a lot of students try to focus on showing that they're just this awesome student or stellar at this one thing. I think another cool thing is doing something, again, that you're really passionate about, that you're learning, that so maybe you're not super great at it, but you can show that you're working hard and that you're trying something new. So, for example, my senior year, I joined our school news broadcast and I became a sports anchor. And I had no knowledge of video editing. I really didn't know that much about sports other than volleyball. But I was able to talk about it in my essays and say, this is something that sorry, I'm getting a lot of text. This is something that I wanted to try. And I was able to make an impact these ways. And it kind of shows a little bit of personality as well. Colleges know that when you come in as a freshman, you're not going to be the smartest person in your grade anymore. You're not going to be the best at everything, but you're trying something new and you're doing things you're passionate about. And that shows a lot about who you are.
Yeah, definitely. Totally.
I'll echo her there. Just in the sense of, like, I mean, speaking specifically for Dartmouth, we're a really, really small school. I mean, comparatively, we're about 1,000 kids per class. And everyone here was the rock star at their high school. Everyone here was the top of their class pretty much. And they're not when they pick up an application, they're not looking for those good grades and those test scores, because those are kind of a given. They're looking for people to add to this community, and who are going to add something to it. And especially here, it's such a small place that they want every single one of those spots filled with someone who can actually bring something. And if you've done a little bit of everything, still have a strong application, but if you can show that you've really committed to something and you have a passion that you can bring to this community, and add something to the student body, I think that's more what they're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. One question that someone just asked, which I'm going to pop up here. Am I going to pop it up? I don't know if it's going to work. Someone asked, have any of you participated in any research during high school? If so, can you share your experiences and how that played into your college applications?
Yeah, I can hop in there. So I did, I live next to a hospital, so I did some cancer research in high school, and it was just a lot of going through files and crunching numbers and stuff. But I mentioned earlier, I'm on the pre-health track, and I knew that coming in, and so that was just something that I had a chance to talk about and say, I could say I want to be pre-med, but here's why I want to be pre-med. I've done this. I'm passionate about it. I've sought out opportunities to already involve myself in that field. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Someone else asked, what if there aren't many clubs or groups that you're interested in, like maybe at your school level? Did any of you have experiences like doing things outside of like just school clubs?
Yeah, I went to
I'm sorry, go ahead, you're fine.
I was going to say, I went to a very small high school, so my graduating class was only about 90 kids. So we're talking about, 400 kids total in my high school. Because of the small size, there weren't a lot of activities. So I was fortunate that we did have a robotics team, but that was pretty much my only in-school activity. So I really relied on my community and searched for things I was passionate outside of just my school. So I did that by looking for volunteer opportunities in my local area. I did that through seeing what sports and stuff were available at local rec centers or maybe at other schools that I could join. So don't feel like you're limited by just the activities that are directly available to you just from your school. You can look outward and try to talk to other people you might have known who've done something you're interested in to try to find things if they aren't directly available at your high school.
Awesome. That's great advice. Whoever
Uh,
else logged on, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that something that I had to realize during my college application process is you're not always going to have the exact perfect clubs for whatever major you're wanting to go into or whatever interest that you need. So a lot of times you have to think about the activities you do in your daily life. For instance, a part-time job. If you work in a part-time job, there's a lot of skills that you learn that you might not realize. For instance, leadership is working with a team or helping your sisters make breakfast in the morning if you have little siblings. There's a lot of little skills that you learn just in life that you might not think qualify, but I put all of those onto my application and they really just showed like leadership, perseverance. So I think anything that you're doing in your daily life, really try to look into it to see if that's something that has to do with whatever major you're trying to go into.
Awesome.
Yeah, one more thought I'll offer on this question is that, and I also went to a pretty small high school, so I ended up having to do this. But there's an interest or something that you want there to be a club for, and you can't find it, make it. I think that also sets your application apart a little bit when you're applying to these schools, is showing that you took that initiative and added something to the community that you wanted to see.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point for sure. If there's not a club out there that is related to something that you're interested in, then go out there and start it yourself. It doesn't need to be like the biggest club with like 100 people in it, but it, again, as Chris said, shows the initiative. So I think that's super important too. I'm just going through some of the questions that other people had submitted here. Did any of you take AP classes during high school? Did the number and the scores matter? If any of you guys want to talk about AP classes, maybe like the specifics of which ones you guys took, things like that.
I did take AP courses in high school. I didn't start until my junior year, though. I know a lot of people start their sophomore year. For me, that was something, our school was really specific on which APs you could take and at what year. I can't really tell you if it mattered or not. I do think a lot of students that are in my year at Cornell did take APs, and I can assume that they probably did really well. But I do know that a lot of the times it depends on what you had available to you. Schools want to know that you're pushing yourself and doing things that matter to you. So, I mean, if you're applying as a psychology major and you're taking AP engineering just to like kind of pad your resume, I'm not sure that's a great idea, but maybe AP psychology would be a great one. Or if you're applying to be a history major, like maybe try taking those US history courses. And then, of course, anytime you're taking a class, you want to do as well as you can. So if you're taking the AP class and you're going to sign up for the exam, I would do everything you can to do well on that exam. And then also, if you're looking for credit at your Ivy, most of the time they only take 5s for credit. So, you always just want to be doing as well as you can.
I also took APs. My school isn't a big AP school, and where there are also restrictions on when you could take them. So I only took AP Calculus AB and AP Spanish. The scores at Brown don't really matter in terms of giving you credit. They don't give you credit, but they do help with placement. So I was able to test into Spanish 500 for last semester, which was very helpful because I didn't have to take the intro classes. But beyond that, I wouldn't put a large amount of importance into them, beyond the fact that if you are challenging yourself within the context of your school and taking classes that interest you and that might be helpful for your major, or if it's just something that really intrigues you, then I would go ahead with them. But I wouldn't just take an AP class just to take it, especially if it's not something that's going to help you in the future.
Yeah, while I was in high school, I took a total of 9 AP exams, and I was also doing the International Baccalaureate program, which is IB for short. Similar to one of the other speakers, Princeton doesn't accept any scores that are not 5s. So if you don't get a 5 and you want to go here, it's kind of like not a waste, but definitely be prepared to have to take courses that you may not have needed to if you could have tested out with a 5. But it's definitely not something to be ashamed of. because most people do end up having to take some form of courses that they could have tested out on, because not everybody gets 5s on AP exams. And if you're concerned about IB exams, you also do need to have a 7 on the IB exam, and they only take the credits for the higher level exams. It doesn't matter if you got a 7 on a standard level exam.
Another thought on scores here. I think another thing the scores can offer is kind of a little more of an explanation for the schools looking at your transcript. What I mean by that is, like my personal, I took AP US History, and that was known at my high school as being the hardest class, and everyone did poorly in that class. And I can't remember if I got an A- or a B+. It was a grade I wish I'd been higher, but when I scored a 5 on the AP exam, that's kind of that explanation for colleges to look and say, that AP classes are taught differently, but taught by different teachers all across the country, but everyone takes the same test. And so it kind of standardizes those grades for them a little bit. And it kind of makes you, if someone got the A in AP US somewhere else and got the 4, and you got an A- and got the 5, it kind of explains maybe the class was just harder at your high school.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to the next question. Did you always plan to attend an Ivy League school? What are some of the other schools that you applied to, and why did you pick your school at the end?
So I did not plan to attend an Ivy League school. I was very focused on, I knew I wanted to do some form of engineering or computer science. So I was mainly looking at some engineering and computer science type schools. So I applied to Case Western Reserve, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and a school called Olin College of Engineering. So 3 like pretty heavy engineering CS type of schools that I really loved. I happened to apply to Yale as well because they actually presented at a robotics thing I was at. And so I was actually pretty anti-Ivy League and pretty anti-Yale just because I didn't think that they were known as an engineering school, and I didn't really think the Ivy League could, give me the education I wanted in engineering, I suppose. But with visiting and with talking to the people, there's so many opportunities that going to these schools give you. And like at Yale, such a collaborative environment. Everyone was so welcoming, and it was so much better than any of the other like admitted students events that I actually attended, that I knew it was definitely the place for me. And so that was kind of the reason why I ended up going to an Ivy League. I do think that a lot of people I know at Yale kind of had planned for years and years that they wanted to go to Ivy Leagues, but that isn't everyone. So don't feel like, you have to just only set your sights on an Ivy League, and also don't feel like just because you might not be like the most interested in Ivy League, that's a bad thing, because Ivy Leagues aren't for everyone.
Yes, kind of similarly, I didn't plan to apply to an Ivy League school. When I initially started my college application process, I didn't even know what an Ivy League was. The only reference I had to Princeton specifically was through the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was like my favorite show. So I was like, okay, let me apply. I applied far and wide because I wasn't sure what I wanted to major in. I wasn't sure where I wanted to be, and I wanted to give myself as many options as possible just in case I did know a little further along in my journey. So I applied to all the schools in Florida because that's my home state, and then I applied to majority of the Ivies. I applied to Stanford and a couple other T20 schools. Ultimately, it came down to choosing between Stanford and Princeton. I didn't end up choosing whoever gave me the most financial aid out of all of my schools or anything like that. It came down to prestige, the possibilities that this degree would open for me after school, especially as a first generation student, and then proximity to home because New Jersey is closer to Florida than California.
Yeah, just to add a thought on this. So I personally, ever since I was a kid, I really wanted to go to an Ivy League school. I just didn't know how, and I didn't really know any of the means or any information on it. I knew that it had a lot of prestige and a lot of opportunities. And so I actually did not know that the University of Pennsylvania was an Ivy League school. and nobody in my hometown did either. So I got matched through the Questbridge program. And before that, I'm also going to touch on another question in the comment section, because some of you guys are asking about mentorships or like the pre-college programs. I visited Dartmouth before I got accepted into Penn, and as much as I loved the school, I would say that the mentorship programs are great. They're fantastic. They teach you a lot of really good tips about how to apply, what you need to put on your application, how that kind of Ivy League community works. However, it wasn't a good fit for me. And I think that's what's most important, more than being in an Ivy League, is being in a college that fits for you. And me not knowing about Penn, I was really upset about going here because I had no idea that it was an Ivy League or anything about it. But once I like Googled it and like kind of read into it, it's perfect for me. You know, it has the right city environment that I wanted, the right communications and economics programs that I wanted. So I think that being in an Ivy League is a great opportunity, but the most important thing about college is making sure that it fits for you.
I agree. My college process was definitely more focused on fit than a specific school. I did have like somewhat of a dream or like a desire to go to an Ivy League school, but I never had a dream school. And to an extent, I think having a dream school can be a little unhealthy just because no school is perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect institution. For the Questbridge process, I actually ranked Brown second. I applied to a total of 7 schools, which is really small, kind of the opposite of Gabby. I didn't want to apply far and wide because I just wanted to really hone in on the schools that I knew if it was the only one I got into, I'd be really, really happy to go there. And for Questbridge, I actually ended up getting matched to Brown. And at first, I wasn't jumping for joy about it just because I had ranked Yale higher on the list. But as time came around and I actually got here, it ended up being the perfect school for me in terms of academics, socially, and all of that. So I would say to really focus in on fit, worry less about the prestige. If that's something that matters to you, that's totally fine, but focus on where you'll be happy and where you'll thrive financially, academically, and socially.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. I definitely think fit is important. I didn't always plan on attending an Ivy League. I actually started at a SUNY school, and then I attended Columbia during the summer, and then went to a SUNY, and then it kind of became convoluted, and I went to a couple different schools in between before I ended at Columbia. And I knew, so I had all that experience to kind of tell me like, this is where I belong. And I feel inspired at Columbia, and I feel like I'm in the right place, and I'm at the forefront of like education and learning and research. And I'm from New York City. So there's a lot of comforts here for me as well. So that kind of, that just helped me pick my school and just let me know that I'm in the right place, and helps me find internships more easily and jobs more easily. And yeah, so that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think for me it was a little bit different because I am an athlete. So I had my list of schools was also schools that wanted me, and then I had to go through the whole Ivy admissions process. I'm not sure if people know that about athletes. We still have to do the process. So the advice I always got from my coaches and from my parents was pick somewhere you'd want to play, even if I couldn't play my sport. And, that was really good advice because with COVID, we weren't able to play volleyball this season. But even if you're not an athlete, I think that that advice rings true. Like, pick somewhere you'd want to go, even if you changed your major. So right now you might be applying as an engineer, but if you decided that you wanted to go to pre-med, is this school still a program that you enjoy? Are the courses that you'd be able to take still something that you'd be interested in? For like Cornell, we have really strict distribution requirements sometimes. And it's like, would I still want to go to Cornell if I had to take Spanish, for example? Somewhere you'd want to cheer for, is it a bigger school? Like Cornell, for me, kind of has a little bit of a state school feeling because we're the biggest Ivy, because we do actually have some in-state tuition and stuff like that. So I really love Cornell sports. Is the town somewhere you'd want to go to dinner? Could you see yourself hanging out there over the weekends? There's so much more to school than just the academic part. So you want to make sure that it's somewhere you'd want to go. Also, like weather, all that kind of stuff. That's something that I had to consider as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's so many things to consider when going through the college admissions process. That's definitely a lot of it is for either the end. We can definitely touch back on that. And I know that you guys have a lot of other questions about college admissions, but we are going to move on to academics, on-campus academics and things like that. So the first question that I have for you all is, what are the classes like? You can touch on the quality of the professors that you've had, like the type of work in terms of distribution, like is it mostly homework, is it mostly exams, things like that. I know some of you are freshmen, maybe haven't had too much experience with that yet, but feel free to share anything.
So we have a huge variety of classes. I think it's like 70% of our classes or something like that are seminar classes. So you'll be in small groups of people that are maybe like 15 to 18 people maximum. And you'll have one professor, or like if it's a very popular class, might be a TF and leading a class. So that's what like our languages are taught in. That's what a lot of like literature classes and stuff are taught in. So you're just like discussing the material. For the more like STEM focused and some like the bigger classes, obviously we do have some lectures, but they have a lot of great opportunities to like learn more and dive deeper. So lots of great teaching staff, so you can get one-on-one communication. So even if you do have a bigger lecture, the lectures normally assign what we call P sets, so problem sets, which you can do every week, but you can work on them with people at office hours and you have a ton of support with that. For me, since I'm a STEM major in particular, my classes normally look like classes with quite a heavy workload in terms of like problem sets, but I don't have to do as much readings as someone who's, let's say, like a history or English major may have to do. But I've had classes anywhere ranging from, people who formerly worked at the White House in cybersecurity to, Nobel Prize winning professors. Some of them can teach, some of them not so much, but you'll kind of find that at every school. The workload can also vary. I've had classes where it took me 60 hours to complete an assignment. I've also had classes where, I just show up to class every day and still, get the grade as everyone else. So it really varies, but you can find classes that are good for you. And Yale has a good system where you can see what other people thought of classes, see what the professors ranked, and use that to make your decision on what classes you want to take, so you avoid things that you're not passionate about. And since we don't have like strict gen ed requirements, you don't really have to take courses that a lot of people don't think are the best courses.
Yeah, so at Penn, I totally agree with Kelly, where something that surprised me is that all of your professors are either at the end of they've already finished their career, or they're still in process of it. So all of my professors have award-winning books, or they've produced films, or they just have these incredible accomplishments and experience. So I definitely rank the quality of the professors at Penn really highly. As far as the course load and the work and how classes are, because I'm a freshman, there are a lot of seminars you'll take where you don't have as much access to the professor as you think that you would. Even though the class of Penn, like my freshman class, isn't that large, you're going to be talking to TAs more often than you are going to be talking to your professors, just because there's so many students in one class. And often enough, there are just, if it's a large seminar or lecture, you're not really participating as much. It's really just reading the textbook and doing an exam every couple of months. And then there are other smaller classes that are super interactive. I've made friends, even though all of my classes are through Zoom, just by consistently talking to and communicating with the same people every single day. But yeah, I'm super excited for classes to be in person next semester. And I think by the time you guys, hopefully by the time you guys get on campus, you'll participate in class.
Yeah, I would say that your experience with classes definitely depends a lot based on your major or what you think you're going to major in. I like my major, and this also played a role in why I chose what I did, because I like smaller seminar feeling classes. So I've had classes where there were only 4 people, including myself, and then most of my classes tend to be like closer to 30 people. Course selection for us starts at 7 a.m. So with that, you can make your ideal schedule, but it's all up to who gets to click the button first. Sometimes you plan to take a course and you may not be able to enroll in it because all of the seats are filled. And at Princeton, we do have to do independent research. So in your junior year, you have to do at least one junior paper. In your senior year, you have to do it one thesis. And sometimes there are classes that you have to take in addition, so that you can be able to get the frameworks and the knowledge that you need to complete those assignments so you can graduate. I personally read around 200 to 400 pages a week, but I don't really do PSETs that much. But Princeton does have some standing like gen ed requirements that you have to fulfill in order to be able to graduate. So you have to consistently balance that with the courses that you want to take and what you need to do if you want to go to law school, grad school, med school, whatever the case may be post-grad.
Yeah, and for Cornell, I think like our motto is any person, any study, and they really committed to that. We have a ridiculous number of classes and topics. I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences, so that's kind of my job, is to take as many classes in the different distributions that we have, as well as with my major. And I really like it because I've had the opportunity to learn new things, and I've kind of thought about learning in a different way. So, I used to think, oh, I'll just do all my distributions towards psychology and make sure that I'm going towards my major. And I've kind of learned that I don't really need to do that. All of those courses will be there for me and I'll get those. So I've been taking a lot of cool stuff. Like last semester, I took a course on Oscar Wilde. Right now, I'm taking a course on African American literature, and they're all going towards my major and my degree. And then as in terms of class size, Cornell, it really varies. Like I have some courses right now on Zoom that are like 200 people, and then that's a lecture. And then later in the week, we have a discussion, and it's that same class, but it's 10 people. So you start to become friends with the people in your class. And that's really great in terms of support and studying. So yeah.
One of the great things about Brown is that they don't have any gen ed requirements. So from the get-go, you can kind of dive into whatever classes you're interested in. As a freshman, they really encourage you to explore, and it does require a little bit of foresight and independence because you have all of these different concentrations at your fingertips, and you get to decide how you kind of want to puzzle piece them together. Most of my classes have been pretty small this semester, and the large lecture ones all have sections that are much smaller. So for example, my computer science class, which had over 400 people at one point before half of them dropped it, we had smaller sections that would be maybe 10 people once a week. The same with my public health class. There were over 200 people in the lectures, but the sections had about 10 people. So there's a good mix of larger lecture-based classes and smaller seminar-based ones.
Awesome. That was all super informative for me as well. The next question that we have is related to, I believe someone asked, are there a lot of work study opportunities on campus? Do any of you participate in work study? So, oh yeah, Julia, you're up.
Yeah, I do work study. I've always done work study, and it's been really helpful for me. I always try to pick something that's somewhat relevant to my major or minor, or even if I don't have a major or minor yet, something that, like before I declared an environmental studies minor, I did the environmental studies internship. And that's not exactly work study, but I got paid for it. I kind of tested the waters. So I've always found it as really helpful. And it really helped me manage my time. So kind of skimming the question on the work-life balance, it helped me be more responsible. It helped me set up a schedule. It helped me be more professional in general. And right now I'm actually not doing anything relevant to a major or minor, but I'm thinking of how can I make it relevant? You know, like how can I put it on my resume? Like how can I build up skills to make it seem like I'm, you know, because I'm working with a team, I am managing my time, I am communicating, you know, like even though it's not 100% relevant because it's in the STEM and biology field and I don't study that, but like it's still relevant in terms of soft skills. So yeah, I think it's great to have work study.
Yeah, I've had quite a few jobs on campus. Right now, I currently have 2. I will say though, I think that the library jobs are the most lucrative on campus because you get paid significantly higher, and all you have to do is sit there and you can do your work at simultaneously. All you have to do is like check people in. Currently, I'm a research assistant with an initiative called Organizing Stories. And it's really cool for me because we are committed to sharing the experiences of activists in our local community. So even though I'm not able to like go out all the time and go and meet people in person, I'm still able to connect with them through this medium. So we have weekly events, but then we also get to interview them one-on-one as research assistants. And that's also great for my resume as well. I worked in the digital learning lab last year, which is where I edited like different YouTube videos and clips for professors as we were transitioning online because of COVID. So some of them had like pre-recorded lectures, and we just like went through that footage and helped them so that they could upload it to Canvas for their students. So that was kind of cool to get more insight into how online learning works on the back end for our institution. And then I was a desk assistant for 2 years with my college on campus, right, residential college. And that actually helped me because there were a lot of times where I applied for grants or scholarships, and the people on the board were the people that I was working for. So they knew me already, and that worked out really well for me. Then I was also I am a peer career advisor, and that helps a lot because we had to do a lot of in-depth training so that we're able to be as meaningful and impactful as we can in our 30-minute sessions with students. Like they book with us and we help them with their resume, find internships, connect to opportunities. And as I've grown as a career expert in that regard, it's helped me as I'm applying to internships and stuff over the summer. So if you can get work study, it's pretty accessible for us. We have a whole website and they just post opportunities in the pay and you can apply there. Definitely try it out.
I was muted. Awesome, though. So the next question that we have, which I believe Kelly is answering, is how about student services? Do you have any commentary on tutoring groups, helpful resources, and things like that?
Yeah, colleges really want to set you up to succeed. So we have a ton of those opportunities in order to help you like succeed in all of your classes. So obviously every professor has office hours. In addition, we have people called undergraduate learning assistants, or sometimes they're called peer tutors. So they're upperclassmen who have taken the class in the past. So for example, that's one of my on-campus jobs. So I'm currently an undergraduate learning assistant, or ULA, for a computer science course. So I have my own office hours where people come and get help and work on the problem sets together. So we have those. Those are mainly for like STEM classes. We have a whole writing center who can help you with any paper you can imagine. And there's also specific tutors for languages, there's tutors for science, there's tutors for math, basically any type of tutor you want. They have it for you. You just need to figure out where that is, and it's super accessible to do. Also, a lot of the big intro classes will set study groups up for you. So don't worry if like you don't know anyone in the class and you're afraid to, go up to someone and ask to make a study group. The professors will actually like send out a Google form and be like, if you're looking for a study group, fill out this information and we'll help you make that, which is super helpful. And basically everyone goes to office hours. So I know there's a question about distributing time on different assignments. One of the ways I like to do that is just going to office hours for a specific class. I'll sit in office hours and do my assignment during office hours because I know there's my classmates I can ask questions to and work on the assignments with. There's also professors and tutors who can help me with the assignments at that time. And then I walk away from it having that assignment complete. And since those are set times in my calendar, I don't have to worry about when I'm going to try to fit that assignment in.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, especially about like the fact that like a lot of the classes will have the groups kind of set up for you, so you don't really need to like worry like, oh, if I don't know anyone in this class, then what do I do? So that's great advice. The next question, which we've been kind of getting a lot of, totally makes sense, is just talking about school life balance in general. So like balancing academics with your personal life, your social life, athletic stuff, and everything else that you have going on campus. So I believe the first person that we have to talk about that is Jaja.
Yeah, okay, so a little bit about my experience with this is I actually got my associate's degree by the time I graduated high school. And so I was already attending college classes. So when I got into Penn, I had assumed that I would know how to be on a college campus and interact with, college classes. And I didn't. When I first got here, the first week in, I immediately ruined my sleep schedule and I was completely screwed for like the first month, and it was bad. There's a lot of things that you don't necessarily consider when you're talking about college. For instance, doing your laundry or taking out your trash. Those are, or going to a dining hall. Those are actually time-consuming things that you need to factor in. And then it comes to social life. How much time do you put towards studying for your classes, and how much time do you put towards doing the actual assignments? Something that really helped me is using your calendar on your phone. I never did that. That app was hidden at all times. But setting reminders really helped me, and trying to get an ample amount of sleep, because I've always been the kind of person who just stays up till 3 a.m. and sleeps until 2 p.m. And that just does not work in college at all. You really do want to make the most out of your day as much as you can, and always ask for help. There are academic advisors and counselors who are completely willing to help you when it comes to time management, when it comes to even budgeting your money that you have. There's a lot of people who are going to help you get into a routine, and all of your peers are with you, and they're also trying to, figure out what to do or where to dispense their time. So I think reaching out for help is the best answer, and definitely using your calendar app.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jaja. Like, calendar app and reaching out for help. Like, I was in school for a couple years before I found out like how to color code, and that was a huge thing for me. So it was things like, first I put in the things that I had to do, like sleep and eat and walk the dog, and then it was like classes, and then I put in things like studying. And studying at Columbia is like a rule of thumb is 3 to 5 hours per credit hour. So a 3 credit class can be like 9 hours, and so I would put that in, and then right, the little things like travel times. Like, I have reminders in my phone telling me like, okay, it's time to leave, and then I have to put in times for like personal time, like, okay, this is time that I get to like hang out and watch TV. And then I also have like issues with learning and sitting still, right? And I can work around that instead of like beating myself up about it. Instead, I study for 30 minutes and take a 15-minute break, study for 30 minutes, take a 15-minute break. And it's just little things like that. And I work around that, and like I get to learn my own habits, and I'm flexible with it. And I also learned, like, instead of writing it down on a piece of paper, which can be helpful, like sometimes I need to do that. Like I put it on my phone or in like on a Google Calendar, so I can drag and drop it and adjust things as needed. And it's just really helpful for me. So and it's really dual. Like, it sounds overwhelming and it can look overwhelming, but it's just a habit,
For me, the Google Calendar situation didn't really work out because it was causing me more stress than peace. So what I started doing is, you're not going to be able to see it really because my phone is too bright, but every Sunday I create a weekly to-do list in my notes app, and I have it through Monday through the next Sunday of all of the assignments that I need to get done, any projects, anything for clubs, section meetings, and all of that. And it allows me to check off everything once I've done it throughout the day. And that works better for me because I know that I need structure in order to function like a regular human being, but I also like having the flexibility of when I do things. So not putting a specific time next to it, but knowing that I just need to get it done today has been a really healthy balance for me. I also made a point of setting boundaries. So I don't work past 11 p.m. unless I absolutely have to. And I also don't work on Saturdays, which is easier said than done, but I set up my schedule in a way where I give myself a day off, especially because Brown did not give us any days off this semester, and we've just had 11 straight weeks of school. It's really important that you don't forget to take care of yourself. So Saturday is my day where I fully decompress, and the other days it's a balance of getting things done, but also giving myself the breathing room to just exist.
Yes, I think setting boundaries for yourself is super important. Mine are probably a little bit more wild. I don't do work after 4 p.m. on Fridays and not on Saturday. But I really do spend a lot of the time during the week that I have doing all my work. I think a lot of it is giving yourself grace and listening to your body. I know for me as an athlete, like sometimes I'm like, oh, after practice, I'm going to the library. And I get out of the shower. I'm like, there's no way I'm making it to the library today. So I think another thing is like, as you start classes, you'll start to learn how long it takes to get things done and how much you can realistically get done. And then also finding friends in your major or in your classes so that you can have that kind of peer group to support one another. I think a lot of people will kind of, especially right now with, not really having a lot of breaks, will get down on themselves and be like, oh, I haven't done enough work today. Everyone's doing all this work. And then the best thing you can hear is like, oh, I haven't started that essay either, or I haven't studied enough for this test yet. And giving yourself a little bit of grace and putting realistic expectations for yourself. Another thing, I use my homework app at the beginning of the semester, and I just take the 30 minutes or so to write down every assignment from my syllabus and put it into my homework app. And then throughout the weeks of the semester, I can see what things I have coming up next. And if I have like an assignment that's due in 2 weeks, like a research paper, I'll get an alert maybe like 5 days before or a week before to start looking at stuff for that. And it's really nice too, because maybe when I'm not ready to do this crazy assignment and I'm procrastinating, I can do maybe some of those easier assignments that'll take some pressure off later in the week.
Yes, Sydney brought up a great point about talking to the people who are in your major, in your classes. It's a great idea to have an accountability partner. That is something that has really been so like integral to my online learning experience, especially like I'll make a group chat with a couple of people I know, and we'll be like, okay, we're going to schedule a time to get on Zoom for 30 minutes and work on this together. Or we'll just check in with each other and be like, oh, you said you wanted to get this far with your assignment. How is that going? Just so you know, at the end of the day, it's not only you're doing the work for you, but you're doing it so that you can have a sense of accomplishment with your other friends as everybody's sharing what they got done. So it's like healthy competition. And also, don't be afraid to ask for extensions. I have always like lived by the philosophy that closed mouths don't get fed. So even if I don't necessarily need an extension, if an assignment is stressing me out a lot, I will reach out to my professors or my preceptors, which is basically just a name for somebody who teaches like a smaller section of the same class. And I will tell them like, I need X amount of extra time. I can get it to you by then. And then I send it. And I have always been granted an extension when I ask. But the key thing about this is to ask for more time than you need so you can still turn it in ahead of the extension that you've got for yourself.
That's awesome. And a great tip. I don't think I ever once asked for an extension, and there were definitely times where I should have. So everyone definitely take that advice. The next question or the next topic that we're going to be talking about is everything related to choosing courses, whether it's like within your major or outside of your major, the process for like registering for them. If that's very specific to your school, then definitely talk about that. If you've ever dropped a class, mention that too, because I know that some people have kind of asked about dropping classes. So first up, we have Kelly.
So at Yale, the way we do things is courses are released, and then there's a process called pre-registration and initial selection. So what that just means is that some courses, like there's a lot of people who want to take them. So for example, like some introductory language courses. So you have to go through and rank those courses, like 1, 2, 3, 4 of your preferences of what sections you want. So that's everything from like language to like some gen chem sections and all of that. And then there's a period where after you kind of get those results and you see which of those classes you've been placed in, then all of the other general classes open up. So then you make a preliminary worksheet. So it just means you have to pick 4 or 5 courses, put them onto your schedule, and then say, these are the courses I want to take. The only limiting factor there is if you want to take a seminar, sometimes you have to, apply to be in a course, so you might not get accepted. Otherwise, you just add it to your schedule and you're immediately in the course, and then they'll accommodate you. So they might add more teaching assistants if there's a ton of people who want to take it and stuff. So it's pretty easy to register. Then we have a 1 to 2 week period, depending on the year, called chopping period, where you can go to any class you want to take. You should try to go to the ones you put on your preliminary schedule, but let's say you show up to that class on the first day and you absolutely hate it, which I've done so many times, or you show up to a class and you're like, oh my gosh, it's 9 a.m., I can't do this the entire semester, which again, I've done many times. Then you say, okay, which other classes do I want to take? And you can just show up to those and end up, putting those on your schedule. And so people sometimes prioritize classes based on random things. So everything from like, do they offer a final, or what time of day is it? Personally, for me, I like classes that are kind of like early afternoon. So that's something I definitely prioritize. Some people also prioritize based on like how far away the classroom is in a normal year, because they don't want to walk up Science Hill, which is something we have here. So it just depends on the person. But overall, the course scheduling process is super easy, and there's a ton of resources to help you, and a bunch of student organizations also hold events to help you get in contact with people in the major you're interested in, so you can learn about some of the courses and help make a decision on whether or not you want to take it.
Yeah, so I'll talk about course selection here at Dartmouth. You can do this without a student account or anything. If you go and you Google Dartmouth Oracle, you can see a full catalog of our classes for each term. But as a student, you then go in and submit a schedule about halfway through the preceding term. And then there's a list of priorities that's based on your class year and whether or not you're majoring or minoring in that discipline. And from there, you receive the classes you've got, and we only take 3 at a time, so it's a little different here since we do quarters. But you'll receive your schedule back. And everyone receives that on the same day, and the following morning at 8 a.m., the entire catalog opens up, and it's first come, first serve for any class on campus. And dropping classes here is also super easy. I think you have something like 6 weeks to drop without penalty, and even then it's just a W on your transcript, which is by no means the end of the world. Also, if you end up at Dartmouth, another good website to check out is something called Layup List, and that's kind of our own course review site. I believe you can access parts of it without a student account, but it's definitely super helpful. It lets us review our professors and figure out what classes are both meaningful and also easy.
So I've definitely dropped a class before. I dropped in my freshman year. I actually really liked the class. Unfortunately, it's just the workload. It wasn't working for me. It was a film class, a narrative film class, and we had to check out this big like camcorder and the tripod every single week and make a narrative film. And that just didn't work with my schedule, especially since in the spring semester I had a lot of conferences to go to. And it was just very strenuous on me because it was my first time working with Photoshop, Adobe, all of these different platforms. So I ended up dropping it. At Princeton, I can't remember the exact date, but after a certain time, you can still drop a course, but you have to pay for that. And it was after that window, and I didn't have money to pay for the course. So again, this is where my job came in on campus, because you have to go to like the head of your residential college if you want to drop a course. And she knew me and I explained the situation, so she waived the fee for me. So I was able to drop that course. I will say, if you are going to drop a course, like also be mindful of whether you're going to be course deficient, because I ended up being course deficient after dropping that course my freshman year, because there were just things you have to do And I ended up having to take a 6-course semester to overcompensate for that. And that was absolutely terrible. I don't recommend that at all, but it's what I needed to do because that film class wasn't for me. So if you notice ahead of time that a class isn't working out, definitely listen to yourself, because I kind of knew from the very beginning it was a class that you can't take for just a pass, D, or fail grade. And I still chose to be in there, even though I knew that's what I wanted to take the class for. So if you preemptively get any like ill feelings about a class, or you think you want to drop, either drop it right then and there, or go and talk to somebody like who's a learning consultant, or even the professor, to try and get any additional support or insight into what is the best thing to do so you don't end up in my situation.
I definitely agree with Gabby that you should double check whether or not you'll be course deficient. I thankfully was not, because the schedule for Brown freshmen this year is a little weird. This is technically my first full semester, and then we're going to have a summer semester, and then we'll go straight into sophomore year, which is less than ideal. But during the fall, we have the option to take a course for free. So I took the Spanish course that I mentioned earlier, and because of that, the course that I dropped this semester, which was computer science, didn't end up affecting my academic standing at all, because it just transferred over as my 4th class. It is really easy to drop a class at Brown. We have a website where you can see all of the courses called CAB, and I just went to registration and clicked drop class, and now I'm no longer in it. In terms of registering for class, we have pre-registration. So on that same website, CAB, during the summer, even during the previous semester, you can look through the classes for the following semester and just add as many as you want to your cart. And during pre-registration, you can register for all of them. And once classes start, similar to Kelly, we also have shopping period for 2 weeks where you can bounce around to whatever class you want. You have to do the work for all of the classes, so you should narrow them down as best as you can, but it allows you a grace period to see what you like and what you don't like. And once you figure out which ones you want and which ones you don't, you can just delete the ones you don't want and keep the ones that you do. The process is a little chaotic because freshmen get like the last opportunity to get classes, but for the most part, if you don't get into a class, you can request an override and the professor will usually let you in.
Awesome. All that stuff is definitely super helpful, because I know that a lot of students were asking about what it looks like in terms of being a free-for-all for registering for classes and things like that. I know that you guys have a lot of other questions about academics, but we are going to move on to on-campus life in general, just so that we can hit up everything with that too. And if you guys have any other questions about academics specifically, then we can touch on them later. But the first question that I have about on-campus life is, what does a typical weekend look like for you on or around your campus?
Yeah, so I can answer that. There's a couple of points that I want to cover when it comes to the campus life at Penn. First of all, I don't know if you guys know this, but Penn is known as the social ivy. If you're worried about making friends, regardless of what ivy you want to go to, or even if you're not sure about college, don't be worried about making friends. This is not like high school. It's not like a popularity contest. And networking is so much easier than you think it is. There are thousands of kids just like you who are leaving home, especially at an Ivy League where people are coming from all over the world. So no matter what your personality type is, if you're more laid back, you're studious, you're shy, you're outgoing, there is going to be somebody just like you who wants to be friends with you. So my weekends usually are pretty social, of course, given the circumstances of COVID. But our campus is right outside of the city. So a lot of kids will be going to the city. I usually myself take one day off every single weekend, every single Sunday, probably for every Penn student, is just a work day. No matter what plans you had, Sunday is a work day, just because a lot of kids like to push off their work until then, which there's no shame in. Everybody has their own schedule. But I would say that the number one thing about campus life, not just for Penn, but for every single Ivy League or prestigious school, is what we call Penn Face here. And Penn Face is the facade that you put up front, that you know what's going on. You have so many internships. You have all your assignments done. Everything's on time. You're really well put together. And that's just not the case. No matter who you are slacking in some area, and that's okay. It is not normal for you to pop into college and be perfect at everything. And I think that the best thing that you can do is be honest with yourself and be honest with your peers. Because when you open up and you're like, yeah, I have to watch 3 lectures at 2 times the speed before the exam on Friday, they'll be more likely to open up too. So I think that that's super duper important.
I'll go ahead and chime in here about weekends at Dartmouth. We kind of stand alone among the Ivies in the fact that we are very, very heavily Greek here. So I think we're about 80% of students here associate with Greek life in some capacity. I'll say that with the caveat that Greek life here is not what you think it is, or what it's made to look like or be in the South, or at those state schools. It's more that we are in the middle of nowhere, and there's nothing. There's not, you can go. People go hike on Saturday and Sunday mornings, but come nighttime, there's not much to do. So we have an extensive list of Greek societies on campus and Greek spaces, and just about everyone finds one that where they fit, or they think they do well, and that's generally how you spend your weekends. Is that you're in your own Greek space or in a Greek space with which you schedule an event of the sort.
Yeah, for us, in a typical year, there's so much going on campus. So a typical weekend for me, we're not very Greek focused. There are some frats and sororities, so some people are doing that. But there's shows going on, so a cappella groups, magic shows, comedy shows, basically anything you can think of. So people go do that. Some people are just hanging out with their friends. We're only like a 2-hour train ride away from New York City, so some people actually go into the city on some weekends. For me, I try to relax on Friday night. I also try to do some work on it Saturday during the day and then relax again Saturday night. Sundays are a little different because sometimes people have work. Some extracurriculars actually do some stuff on Sundays. Some senior societies meet on Sundays. So it really depends on where you're at in your campus career and what extracurriculars you're involved in. But there's just so much to do. We're also in residential colleges, which means every student is sorted, think of them as like Hogwarts houses. So there's 14 of them. So your res college also tends to have things like movie nights, or just like cookouts or something. So that also gives you opportunities to meet new people as well. So basically you can be as social or as antisocial as you want. And there's plenty of activities all over the spectrum to accommodate what your preferences are and how much, you want to do or how much you want to party each weekend.
Awesome. The next question that we have is someone asked about, do you feel as if there's a lot of diversity on campus? So first up, we have Sydney answering that question.
Yeah, I think campus is diverse. I mean, if you just look at the student profile, you're going to see a lot of countries, a lot of like the whole percentage. But Ivy Leagues are PWIs, and for people who don't know, that means predominantly white institution. So I think for me, it's a matter of making an effort to participate in it and finding those diverse people. Or so like I highly recommend going to the diverse support services on campus at Cornell. It's called WADI. And meeting those administrators or professors. They can usually set you up with opportunities to meet people or participate in your culture. Like for me, it's really, really important that as a Black woman, I find other Black women who can share my experience. And you kind of have just that unspoken understanding that you can't really get anywhere else on campus. It's not so much a thing as like, oh, you feel really ostracized or you're discriminated against necessarily, but just having that group of diverse people or people that are similar to you, if you are a minority. And then the other thing would be just being honest and comfortable with like the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and also just learning to find something new. If you came from a background where everyone was pretty much like you, like going out and finding new people and learning a new perspective. And then at the same time, if you are always like the minority, going out and finding a place where you're the majority and you can be 100% comfortable.
I think diversity at Brown, it obviously could be better, but it's not horrible. I spend a lot of time with like the Black community and people of color in general. My dorm itself is very, very diverse. So I'm surrounded by people of color most of the time. So I think I'm in a bit of a bubble in that sense. But similar to what Sydney said, there are a lot of opportunities to make connections and form meaningful relationships with people that you do feel comfortable with. So there's the Black Student Union, there's a Frieza, there's an entire array of organizations and clubs and mentorship programs that you can get involved in. And there's also special program housing. For example, there's a Latinx house, there's a Spanish house, a French house, there's Harambe House, which is for Black students that I'll be living in sophomore year. So it really is a make your own adventure. You can form relationships as you want to, and the diversity isn't amazing, but because you are forming all of the relationships yourself, it's really easy to find community if you look for it.
Yeah, this is definitely a very subjective question. And it depends on like what your upbringing has been like and what your high school and previous educational experiences have been like, kind of what the other speakers were alluding to. Like if you've always been around people who don't look like you or do look like you, coming to a space that is different than that can feel more diverse, even if it isn't. Obviously, like these are predominantly white institutions, so they are overwhelmingly white. And being a Black person, I do feel that it isn't very diverse at all. But of course, my opinion may be slightly skewed because I came from a school which was majority Black. So Princeton is already a very small school, so we only have like 6 or 7% Black people. We don't have more than 5,000 students around there. So that works out to what, like 600 or 700 kids that are spread out across. And then of course, like other things come into play, like class and gender, which do like make diversity a little bit more complex. But at the end of the day, you're gonna find your enclave wherever you go, whether it's an Ivy League school, whether it's a state school, whether it's a community college. Even if the school isn't the most diverse, you're going to come across who you're supposed to come across at that institution. So even though I don't feel like the school overall is very diverse, I have found my group of people who happen to be fellow Black women, and I surround myself with them. So that makes the day-to-day a lot easier. But to allude to the other question coming up, Princeton doesn't have any like race specific or identity specific housing. We don't have like Black housing. We don't have a Black house. We don't have any like support dorms or anything like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, and going up right up to the next question is specific to housing, dorms, things like that. Anything related to that our panelists want to mention. So first up, we have Jaja talking about dorms.
Just to touch a little bit back on the diversity question for a second, Penn also does not have any race-specific housing. In fact, I think I'm the only Polynesian person that I have met at this school in general. But dorm life. So I have not shared a room since I was 14. I actually just turned 18 today. And I don't think I was prepared for sharing such a small space. My room is very small. Even though it's a prestigious school, the dorms really aren't a dream come true, to be honest. However, it is comfortable. You do have a close camaraderie with your housemates. The people in your hall are going to be your best friends for the first couple of weeks. My best friend who lives across from me, or like to the left of me, blasts Taylor Swift at 9 a.m. in the morning. And when I first moved in, I really hated that. But over time, you learn to really kind of adjust to the fact that you are going to be living with other people. And these people are not just annoyances or strangers. They are your friends, and they are resources for you too. So if you have any questions about, the laundry rooms or where to find the dining halls or anything like that within the dorms, always ask your neighbors. They're always there for you. My neighbors have helped me out so much. I steal detergent from them. I steal water from their Britas from them. They are your greatest, their greatest resources for sure. Only thing else I can say about the dorms is that if you live near a city or if you're planning on going to a school near a city, be very careful to make sure that you clean up your room. I know that it can be really hard to balance that, all the stress of school and a social life and keeping up your room. However, the city comes with pests, such as cockroaches. And no matter how spiffy your room is, you will probably find a cockroach at some point in time. So definitely make sure you're keeping your room clean and talking to your neighbors, I would say.
Awesome. Next up, we have Kelly answering this question, but everyone's saying happy birthday to Jaja, which I think is so awesome. And I said that we should sing later. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But next up, we have Kelly answering about dorm housing life.
Yeah, so I kind of started talking about this earlier, but as I mentioned, so when you come to Yale, you're sorted into a residential college, and then you live with the people in your residential college all 4 years at Yale if you choose to stay on campus. So you must live on campus your first 2 years. Your first year, unless you're in, there's 4 colleges that don't live on old campus, but all the other college first years live on old campus. So each residential college has its own building on old campus. You get to know the people in your year in your res college. So I'm in Davenport. So it was just great meeting all the other first years and all of us being in one space. After that, you move into your res college. So each residential college has its own dining hall and a series of facilities. So each res college also has a gym. Davenport in particular has a movie theater, a basketball court, a pottery studio, a bookbinding studio, some music practice rooms, and I think there's a couple other things we have. So each residential college has a specific thing that's different about it. And then you live with the people in your res college. You can transfer in different res colleges. So don't worry about oh my gosh, I don't want to live with strangers, which I hate all the people in my res college. You can transfer out into a different residential college, and that's not uncommon to do. Your first year, your dean assigns who you're living with. So you fill out this questionnaire, and it's most likely you will be in a double room. But my dean in particular did a great job just assigning me a group of people who I really was able to live well with my first year, so they know what they're doing. So don't worry about the random housing in particular. The one downside is the buildings were built like the 1800s or something. So I'm on campus right now. The biggest downside is we don't have air conditioning, which is a bummer, the first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks of every school year. But aside from that, it's not really missed at all. So that I'd say would be the biggest downside of dorm life. But people do move off campus, so you don't have to live on campus all 4 years. Some people choose to go live in their sorority house or their fraternity house, or all of the sports team have their own houses. So it just kind of depends what your preferences are. People mainly do that if they want to cook for themselves and don't want to be on the meal plan. And one thing I also want to address real quick is there's a question on how safe do you feel on campus? A lot of times New Haven gets a bad rep for being a bad place to live. But honestly, I feel super safe on campus. I like living on campus and the fact that we have blue lights everywhere. So they're actually set up in the fact that it's 20 feet or something, there's a blue light. So some people, if you feel unsafe walking back, you can just walk between the blue lights. So if you do move off campus, some people don't do that just because they feel a little less safe. But don't worry about that at all. It's a college campus. People wouldn't still be going there as frequently if it was super unsafe. So don't let that be a limiting factor.
Awesome, and thanks for hitting 2 birds with 1 stone with that one. Next up, because I know that someone had a question about Greek life on campus, so we have Chris is going to touch on that quickly because he's in a fraternity. So take it away, Chris.
Yeah. So I mentioned before, Greek life is pretty prominent here in its own. Recommend joining one in its own way. At Dartmouth, I definitely would recommend joining one. The way we do it is you can't rush anywhere until sophomore year here. And what I think that creates is each house kind of has its own specific personality and type of person that congregates there. And giving you a year before you actually have to choose where you rush, I think really helps each really does help each house create their own strong community around what they're passionate about. And from then on, they kind of become your people. I mean, it's not they're not particularly overbearing, at least not here. But it definitely does give you an extra social space and an extra space where you can feel comfortable and feel like you're around friends, and an extra residential space should you choose to live there. And it also, college can be a really isolating time. And finding a Greek house or any, we have a bunch of places here that aren't necessarily Greek, but function similarly. And just as a segue to meeting new people and being connected with other social groups on campus. Speaking personally, it's been a really great experience for me. I've found a lot of my best friends through Rush, through pledging, and through being in my Greek house. And I would definitely recommend it to at least give it a shot to anyone coming here. Or, I can't speak for other places, but yeah, I would definitely be a part of it.
Awesome. Very cool. And next up we have, because I know that someone also had a question, I think maybe it was in someone said, how's dorm life? But also asking about commuting. And Julia can talk about commuting. So.
Yeah, so I've lived in dorm life and I think it's great. I've also commuted, and one time in a commuting situation, right after I moved there, the bus right across the street from me that would have taken me to school right away got shut down. So that was kind of unfortunate. And that was, I don't know, that was a hard lesson. And I had to walk like 30 minutes or 40 minutes to school because I didn't have a car. So yeah, I would say commuting can be tough. And right now I do commute to school, and it's about like a 25-minute commute, like 20 to 30-minute commute. And that, I think that's a good amount of time. Like, it lets me do my work on the train. Of course I take the train, so I have to make extra time just in case the train breaks down, or if I was probably taking a car, in case there's traffic. So there's always unforeseen circumstances, which isn't that great. But I don't know. I do think it's the more just kind of the better option. There's more independence. I kind of get my own space. I don't know. I get to I kind of live with my parents now, so I don't have to pay rent, and there's that benefit. And I get a lot of my expenses taken care of to offset the expenses of college. And so I would say commuting is great. I would also just say, as a warning, it's expensive to live by the college, and it's probably cheaper to live further away. But then again, you're living further away, and it's going to take longer to get to the school. So it's going to be tougher, and mentally you might not want to, wake up earlier to get to school. So, with class times and everything, it might just be trickier. So, I would just look out for that.
Awesome. So now we're moving on to our last round, which is going to consist of general tips, tricks, advice, and we may also touch on a few of the other questions that you guys had earlier on in other sections if we do have time. So feel free to kind of segue into asking any questions related to tips, tricks, advice, things like that. But the first question that we have is, what is your number one complaint about your school? And we have Sydney first up talking about this.
Yeah, I think the obvious one that everyone says with Cornell is the mental health crisis that a lot of students go through. And I guess the complaint would be that workload's too much and that the school maybe doesn't provide enough resources that the students can take advantage of. I think we do have a lot of resources at Cornell, but because we're so busy, it's hard to take advantage of them. So my advice would be, if you do choose to come to Cornell or any school you choose to go to, continue to listen to your body, make enough friends, make friends in general that you can rely on, and set realistic expectations for what you can do in a day, and be kind to yourself.
In terms of specific student ones, there's two. One is that we have to pay for laundry, and it's very expensive. And the second being that the campus isn't well lit at night. So if you're walking home alone, I have a section that's in person that's about 15 minutes away from my dorm, and it's at 7 p.m. So I usually have to FaceTime someone on the way back because walking alone in the dark is less than ideal. We're in a city or right next to a city. But looking more broadly, Brown hasn't always lived up to their promises when it comes to helping the greater Providence community. They own a lot of property and they claim to have invested a lot of money in the public education system, but their actions haven't always matched their words, which is incredibly frustrating because they take up a lot of property and space that other people could be using in the community. In terms of the Brown specific ones, I think they are starting petitions to try and subsidize laundry and to get more lighting, but the bigger one about Brown's impact on Providence is more of an ongoing thing. And I think that's kind of standard across all of the Ivy Leagues.
First of all, thank you everybody for the birthday wishes. I was on the wrong chat, so I didn't see it until like way after, but I appreciate it. My number one complaint about my school, I also have two, just like Brianna. I think that the number one complaint is that with Ivy League schools, and I don't know if I want to speak for everyone, but especially for Penn, there's definitely a front put up, and I talked a little bit about it earlier, but it's more, instead of like a bullying atmosphere, it's really you're bullying yourself to a point. And I tried to abstain from it when I first got here, but it does get to you over time where you are constantly comparing yourself to other people. I personally came from a super low income background. I did not have access to a lot of resources. And when I got here, you would just see people who go to Cancun for spring break, or there are people who they just really don't understand adversity. And you can't blame them because you can't control what you're born into. But I do think that there's a big disparity over what's realistic for a person to accomplish and what's the expected accomplishment. You know what I mean? So I think that the number one thing is that nobody is really honest with where they're at mentally, emotionally, financially, economically. People are very, very false when it comes to that. It's something that can be easily broken down as long as you talk to people, as long as you're open with yourself and very forgiving, which I think Sydney kept reiterating whenever she spoke, is that you really need to forgive yourself when you mess up and you miss a class, and you need to realize that you're a human being. You're not a student, you are a human. The second one is a lot less serious. I don't like the food here at Penn. No one does. The dining halls are absolutely terrible. So definitely, if you're going to go on the dining plan, switch to one that has more dining dollars, which will give you restaurants, because the actual food here is kind of prison grade.
I was going to hop in with Dartmouth real quick. Well, I'll follow that by saying the food at Dartmouth is awesome. But my two complaints I've got two complaints too about Dartmouth, main ones. The first one I feel is probably pretty consistent across the Ivy League, but definitely here there's a consistency for the atmosphere to be pretty cutthroat and pretty competitive. I think a lot of kids are coming out of here aiming at places like Wall Street, and especially at the top firms, there's only so many jobs, and so there's this underlying sense of competition that infiltrates almost everything here, which is unfortunate. The only way I can say to alleviate that is just find and run with the right crowds, and yeah, the second one, and this has become pretty apparent over the past year, but the administration here is not quite as focused on the well-being of students as they claim to be, as though how do you believe. And as far as their endowment goes, they're a lot more worried about getting that number, raising that number, than they are using it for any student needs. So I know this year they've already closed like 4 of our libraries, and they keep eliminating student groups. Meanwhile, they're boasting like a 7% return on their endowment this year. And so that's an issue that the student body and the administration are trying to figure out right now, is to what end do they have an obligation to us to keep funding our programs versus be conservative with, I guess, their endowment or their funding.
Awesome. So our next question, which I think we're going to bring everyone back on for so that you can see all of our panelists' lovely faces, is talking about, what is the question? I'm just scrolling. Tony, help me out. Piece of advice that you would tell your high school self about the college admissions process. So it can be anything related to like a mistake that you made, something that you wish you did differently, a tip that you have, I guess, anything like that. So maybe we'll start on the bottom, or at least the bottom for me, which is Brianna.
I was very stressed out first semester of my senior year because the Questbridge application, Gates, Things for Chicago Scholars were all due around the same time, and they were due in September, which was a lot earlier than the regular, even like ED applications are due. So I would tell myself to take a break, to sleep, and just to chill out a little bit because it's going to work out. You're going to end up at the best place for you. And in terms of taking care of your mental health, I saw someone put that in the chat because I didn't do that first semester of senior year. Things that I try to do now are like I do meditation in the morning, I exercise, I go to the gym at least 3 times a week. I try to drink water, like get a good balance of like social interaction and alone time, and just manage my workload. But yeah, I would tell myself to take a deep breath and get more sleep because it's not worth stressing out over. It'll work itself out.
I wish I would have been more specific about the type of college experience that I wanted. I said before that I was applying far and wide because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but even equally as important as like knowing what you want to do academically is like knowing what type of experience you want at the school. Like, do you want it to be big? Do you want it to be in a city? Do you want to have a nice dorm? Do you want to have an apartment? Like things like that I didn't really think about because I thought that every school was like in a college town or surrounded by restaurants and shops, and they had dialing dollars, which isn't the case specifically for Princeton. So I wish I would have looked more intentionally into what the actual experience of a college would have been like, so I could have chosen a better school that fit my idea of what college would have been for me.
Awesome. Sydney?
I think I would have told myself that the anxiety would pass and that I would find the right place for me. And then I think the other thing is a lot of students put so much pressure on what school they choose, once applications are in and they're worried about May and making the wrong decision. If you get to your school and you realize that it's not a fit for you, you can always transfer. There's so many other opportunities and there's not one clear path.
Great advice. Great advice. Jaja?
I think I'm going to touch base on a couple of questions that have been asking about being homesick or moving away from home. One thing that I would have told my high school self is that I'd always wanted to leave home. That was never an environment that I thought would give me a lot of opportunities or a lot of peace of mind to focus on my education. So the goal was to move far away. And I moved from Utah to Philadelphia, where I currently live. I think that I would have told myself that when you do move far away, whatever you're trying to escape or whatever you're trying to get, recognize that that is a complete 180, like a complete turnaround. And as soon as you decide to do that, your life just splits in two. And you have to take care of your home life and foster those relationships, but also recognize that this isn't summer camp. I think I treated this place, like living in the dorms, like it was a little getaway camp, but it's really not. You're going to start your life there. And this is preparing you to really just become an independent person in the real world. So I think that if I could have gotten that culture shock sooner, it wouldn't have been as hard when I moved away from home.
Awesome. And I love how you touched on a few different questions. Super great. Kelly, you're up.
So I'm going to start with something I'm very happy I did is I was very strategic about when I applied. So one of my college was non-binding acceptance, and they actually told me if I was accepted or not on December 1st, which is super, super early. So since I knew I had gotten into that one, I only applied to 3 other schools. So I was very happy I did that and highly recommend that. But something I wish I did is had done more in-depth research on the schools I wanted. I felt like I looked at the schools very surface level And I'm very happy I ended up at Yale, but I feel like everything I had learned about it happened like after I was accepted. Like a lot of people are asking about financial aid in the chat. So Yale actually does 100% need-based financial aid. So if you can only pay $100 to attend, you're only going to pay $100. It's not based on your test scores or stuff like that. And that's something I had no idea about until I actually got my financial aid package. And that's one of the things I think back on with the colleges and think about what things like I didn't necessarily know about schools just because I was only paying attention to like where they were located, how big they were, and like, did they offer my major? So I'd say pay more attention and do a lot more research to see ahead of time if they have the things you want to do, if they have the opportunities for you, and if it's a right match in other areas like financial aid, for example.
Awesome. Chris?
Take a different route here, I think. If I could go back and give myself a piece of advice, I'd say more on the tail end when you're looking at all the places you're in, if you don't go early somewhere. And I love Dartmouth. I'm super happy that I'm here, and I love this place. But you know, I think another place I was looking at was Chapel Hill, because I'm from North Carolina. And I think I've realized, like, once you've got that acceptance letter in your hand, it's really, really easy to fall victim to the allure of the Ivy League, the name and the reputation that you attach to it. And the reality is that, you know, we make whatever our admissions rate or our rankings say, we're just another college. It's just another school, and you know, you could go to any of the top 20 schools in this country and still or even more than that, and still be really successful and still have connections all over the world. And you know, if it turns out that you're into one of these schools and you're into somewhere else where you really think you're a better fit, you know, who cares about going to a place that's among the Ivy? Go where you want to go. Like I said, like, I love Dartmouth, but looking back, I wish someone would have just kind of slapped me across the face and said, you know, that's not the reasons that you're really loving this school is not what it's about.
Awesome. Julia, last but certainly not least.
I would say just finding more internships or leadership opportunities and kind of like giving back to my community.
Okay, cool. I think those were all great pieces of advice, especially when it comes to navigating the college admissions process and like applying and just giving you all some food for thought in terms of like thinking about, are the reasons why I want to attend this school like really the reasons why I should be attending, and weighing pros and cons, doing the research, everything like that. The last question that we have, which is for anyone who wants to answer, since we did talk about complaints, your number one complaint, now we will talk about your favorite thing about your school, because I think that's a great way to end off. So anyone, feel free to do the hand raise. Brianna.
I love how community oriented and just collaborative Brown is. All of my friends on my floor, we have different concentrations, different interests, but we'll go into the common room and just work together. People will talk about what they're working on, what they're passionate about, share things, we'll help each other, even if we're not in the same class. And there's no sense of like cutthroat competition. People are really there to help you. They want to see you succeed. They're interested in seeing the really cool things that you're doing. And I'd say that's true for Brown students as a whole. Someone in the chat asked about the QuestBridge match process. So I can answer that really, really quickly. First, I ranked 5 schools. And once I found out I was a finalist, I cut it down to 3. Then you have to submit all of the supplements and extra information for that. And I found out on December 4th, I believe, that I was matched to Brown. I had a friend who's a senior now who didn't match to any schools, but she ended up getting into all of the schools she applied to, regular decisions. So even if you don't match, don't worry about it. Your financial aid ultimately will be based on your need, regardless of whether or not you get QuestBridge. So don't stress out too much about it, but also only put schools on your ranking list if you really want to go there.
Good advice.
My favorite thing about Cornell and a big deal for me coming was the alumni network and all of the fun traditions we have. It's really easy to find alums on LinkedIn, or even, anytime I'm wearing my Cornell gear off campus or at home in San Diego and I run into a Cornell alum, I always have a really great conversation with them. They're always out there to help us. And then I also like that it's a little bit of a bigger school, so that also contributes to the bigger alumni network. And we just have a lot of really fun traditions.
Yeah, for me, it's also just a community on campus, and the fact that there's so many opportunities to find community on campus. For example, I have a strong group of friends within my residential college. I also have a strong group of friends within my major. I also have a strong group of friends within my extracurriculars. So I have many, many, many opportunities for people to support me and my interests and what I need. And it's just so great, going into office hours and knowing people aren't there to try to get a better grade than me. If they have, a revelation, they're going to share that with me, and I'll share my successes with them. Also, one of the biggest eye openers for me was during computer science recruitment season. My friends and I are we're all competing for the same internships or the same jobs, and we know it. So you'd expect that would be a time where maybe we don't talk as much, or maybe we are mad at each other when someone gets an internship and someone doesn't or something. But that's not the case at all. We share our successes and we share our failures. We share, how to do better on the next one. Or if we did get an internship, we'll maybe ask to refer our friends to a recruiter to help them get an internship. So it's really great just knowing that there's a whole community of people behind you, and that Yale wants you to succeed, but also your friends and classmates want you to succeed as well. And just knowing that makes the whole Ivy League experience for me a whole lot easier and better.
Amazing. So that pretty much wraps up. Those were all really great responses. Pretty much wraps up everything for our last round, which was tips, tricks, and advice. The last question that we have is just how can all of you as students keep in contact with our panelists? So Tony is going to be copy and pasting their emails, and for some of them, their Instagram handles as well in the comments section, so that you guys can all reach out to them, ask them more questions, keep up to date with things like that. And I believe with that, we are closing out all 5 rounds of our Ivy League Access the Advantage Ivy League Edition panel. I just said that in 5 different ways. Apologies. But I'm I don't know. Something's going on here. But I do want to say thank you guys so much to all of our panelists. You guys were all amazing. And I know that it is definitely a lot to be giving up almost 2 hours of a Saturday, because you guys are so busy and have so much stuff going on. So I really appreciate it so much. And I know that all of the students that are on really appreciate it too. So guys, for all of you who are watching, give them a huge virtual round of applause, a thank you. You guys have all been super awesome, and your advice and your expertise has not gone unnoticed for sure. So at this point, we have all of your info, so we'll be passing it along to all the students. So feel free to peace out if you want. We're just going to be doing a quick little chat at the end about the scholarship winner and things like that. But to all of our panelists, thank you guys so much. And I'll be in touch.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
All right. That was amazing.
Amazing.
That was literally like a knowledge bomb. 2 hours straight. Our speakers are super amazing. I'm super pumped. So a big thing. Hang on tight, everyone. So remember, that's the first half. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free right now to just leave a takeaway in the comment. What's something you learned? What shocked you? What amazed you? What was something incredible that they said? It was definitely a really awesome event we've had. And right after this little quick chat, it's gonna take 5-10 minutes. Right, we'll be announcing our scholarship winner after this as well too. But because you all attended this event, Aiden and I, we put together a little special offer for you all. So if it's okay, I would like to share a little bit with you all, right? So our whole goal, so for those who don't know, Access the Advantage is a play off both of our our companies, right? Her, Aiden with Access Advantage, with me, one of my brands, the Unfair Advantage. We merge it together is Access the Advantage. So the partnership was super awesome. Our goal is to connect you all with opportunities to give you the unfair advantage in whatever areas that you have as well too, right? So I get a lot of questions of how do you stand out in the admissions process? And then Aiden gets a lot of questions about how do I pay for college without going into debt as well. So for us, we kind of came together to figure out what can we do to help out more students, right? So there's definitely some intersection between her work and my work as well too, right? So between the two of us, we did the math. Over the past decade, we've helped thousands of students get into college, and together, both of us have helped students win millions of dollars in scholarships as well too. So I think the number is incredible. So that's why we were super pumped to be able to work together and put on this inaugural event for you all. And that gave us an idea, right? That gave us an idea. We're like, so we started brainstorming, right? A lot of you guys, when you guys registered, you guys sent us emails saying how much you appreciate this event. Some of you guys send us emails like, hey, I want more. What else can I do to get more from this as well? So me and Aiden, we came together and we want you to be our next success story, right? We want you to get into your college of your dreams. We want you to be able to graduate debt-free as well too. So we put together, we call it the Access the Advantage Special. Can we have permission to chat with us? If we have permission, feel free to write yes in the comments. If we have permission to share with you our special offer for you for this event. So if you're okay with us sharing this special, to say yes in the comments. Look at that. All the yeses are coming through now. Super, super awesome. So thank you for that. It's going to take like 5 minutes. So hopefully, thank you for your time. So we put our heads together and we're introducing today, we call it ATA Success, Access the Advantage Success. So what do you get in Access the Advantage Success, right? You're going to get 1 month of my College Admission Academy. So under this College Admission Academy, that's my group coaching program, right? I've been helping thousands of students to get into higher education, get into all their dream colleges and universities, right? In these live trainings, we talk about academics, right? What classes should you take? Should you dual enroll AP classes? You see the importance that all the speakers talked about in academics. We'll also talk about extracurricular success, right? So with this one, like what activities should you do? A lot of questions. How do you get research? How do you do internships? We help you with that in these group coaching calls as well too. And we help you with college admission success too. Later this year, I'll be helping students walk through. We have a lot of juniors here. I'll be walking through a lot of students to help them with their UC app, with their Common app, the Coalition app, all these amazing apps, even the QuestBridge app, right? All this in these coaching calls as well too. And the best part is that you have to ask your own questions and learn from each other as well too. So it's not just you just listening. It's interactive. You're asking questions, I'm answering, you're getting feedback from all your peers and mentors as well too, right? So that's included in ATA Success, right? So far, we're at $97 value, but we're gonna go even one step higher than that right now. So Aiden, right? Aiden put together, I believe, one of the best books I've ever read in the realm of professional development, right? For any of you guys who are looking for internships, you guys looking for schools who are asking for resumes, those of you guys who are applying for jobs and they need cover letters, those of you who are looking to step up your social media game, right? This is the book for you. It's called Let's Get Professional, a student's guide to creating boss digital assets, right? So in this one, Aiden tells you how to do resume success. He teaches you exactly how to put a resume together to help you with a job, to help you get into your college, because some colleges are looking for you sending a resume. So she's helping you with both of that, right? She also breaks down the perfect cover letter. Half of you don't even know what cover letters are, right? But that's a huge thing. For me, both of us run multiple businesses, right? So we get a bunch of people who we're looking for employees for our companies. So we look through them. And then the one thing I ask for cover letters. Half the people have no clue how to do it. And the ones who do it, they do it incorrectly. So Aiden tells you exactly how to do it to succeed in cover letters here, right? I get a bunch of DMs. She gets a bunch of DMs about LinkedIn, right? I love Facebook. I love Instagram. But if you want to get a job, get a networking opportunity in your field, people know that LinkedIn is the way to go in this realm kind of thing. So she'll teach you how to polish up your entire LinkedIn profile to make it super, super epic, right? We're throwing this in as well too. So far we're at 194. How cool is that? But we're not stopping right there, everyone. We're going to go one step further as well, too. So on top of telling you everything, Aiden put together professional templates that you can just copy and paste. How cool is that? People are like, oh, Coach Tony, you told me this, but then like, it's so hard. It's so hard. So I told Aiden was like, I got you. So she literally gave you guys copy and paste templates for every single thing. Copy and paste templates for your resume. You don't have to think anymore. Copy, paste it, change it with your information in the intro, the education, the experience section. She tells you exactly what keywords you use in your resume to get that job, to get into that university as well too. She even gave you a free cover letter template that you just tweak a few things to make sure it's your own as well too. Right? This is twice. And she tells you recommended certifications inside of there and where to find them as well too. Things that give you that unfair advantage over all your peers, especially as students your age right now too, right? With LinkedIn, she'll teach you how to create the perfect profile picture. Some of you have weird things or nothing, right? That's definitely not the way to go in the professional world. So she tells you exactly step by step how to create the perfect profile picture and the exact text for that summary statement. In LinkedIn, this is one of the most important things that's either make it or break it, right? For you for profiles, right? So perfecting this, the exact text, the templates on what you need to do to succeed at that, who thinks that is very, very worth it? I think for me, I'm lazy. I'm super lazy. I love that. So boom, we're throwing that in for you as well. Normally it's 197. We're throwing it in. So far we're at 391. If anyone paid that, I still think that's still a steal, right? I still think that's undervalued of everything you're getting so far. Who agrees, right? If you're paying that much, that's still worth 397. And we start thinking, right? We're like, what else do these students need, right? What else besides these three things? What else do you need? So we were thinking, we're like, what if, right? Just for this group, just for the group who are here in the Access the Advantage, what if we throw a special office hours just for you guys with me and her? I'll talk about anything college admissions related. Aiden will talk anything money and scholarships as well too. Right? So you get access, you get the office hours call with the experts. We helped over 2,000 students get into the top tier universities. We've helped achieve over $6 million in scholarship. Who would be happy to get into their dream university or get even a bit of that $6 million in scholarships? How nice will life be when you don't have to worry about getting in? You don't have to worry about paying for school because you know it's already covered already. We're throwing that in as well too, right? So right now we're at 641 and you guys know, I still think that's super worth it, right? Look at all these me's right here. The me, done, right? I see, give me your credit card, done, right? And then I just want to ask you, take a quick step back, right? Let's take a quick step back, right? If all this program did, right? So if let's say you invested in this right now, right? The College Admission Academy for a month, the Let's Get Professional ebook, the plug and play templates, and this amazing office hours coaching call, right? If it allowed you to get clear on exactly what you need to do to get to your dream college, would that be worth it? Yes or no, friends? Would that be worth it alone just for that answering that little bullet point, right? Next one, what if it only helped you land one job that can easily make you $3,200 in one summer, even if you get paid minimum wage, $10, right? If you follow the Let's Get Professional book and it made you $33,000 in a summer, basically you can start in 2 months, make $3,000 this year. Would that $600 be worth it? Look, all those yeses. Yes, right? It's basically giving 600 and you're getting 3,000 back. That's how I think of it, right? Or what if this gave you the ability to access a network of mentors to help you through school and your dream career. Between Ada and I, we know a bunch of different people. She knows tons of people in the money space, in the scholarship space, helping you get the best rates on loans if you have to go that way as well too. Me, I have access to all the college and university you want. I had a student last week who were like, hey, I just got into this school. And I'm like, hey, I know someone who does admissions there. Hey, talk to this person, kind of thing, right? So our network alone is incredible. How would you like to pick our brains and get access to the exact people? How cool would that be? Would this $600 be worth it to access the people that we know who can help you guys get the unfair advantage that way? Right? So, like I said, take a step back in. You can see this is a good deal at $641. And if I post a link, I'm sure there's a lot of you guys who will pay that right now. However, right, because we want you all to achieve success, right, in school, college, and life, we're not going to charge you guys $641. We're going to do one better. We're not even going to do $300. It's only $37. All this, $37, right? So if you want the ATA special, ATA success, you get 1 month College Admission Academy, you get the Let's Get Professional ebook, you get the plug and play templates, exactly word for word what you need, and you get those office hours, $37. Who wants it, right? Yes, all caps, like a bunch of exclamation marks. That thing, right? Oh, Nisha is like mind blown right now. Nisha's mind blown. So if you want access to that, right? Yes, big yeses, big exclamation marks right now. Awesome. And so the big thing so that's one. So I hope that was amazing. I'm amazed in that as well too, right? But I'm gonna take it one step further. All right, Aiden and I, we are wealth of knowledge, right? Between the two of us, we can help anyone achieve any of their goals they want in school, in life, in financial success, anything, right? The biggest issue though, does anyone know the biggest difference between our students that succeed and the students who don't succeed? There's one big key difference. There's one thing that our students who succeed do and students who don't do. And the answer is taking action. We can tell you exactly what to do, but if you don't do it, there's no chance you can do whatever you want to do, right? Aiden says, hey, you got to do this scholarship this way. And students say, okay, I won't do it, or I'll do it a different way. They're not taking action. For me, I tell students, hey, you have to take this class, you have to do this activity. They don't do it. It's too hard. They're not taking action. So we love action takers. We love people who take action and implement right away. So we want to throw in a fast action bonus. So we see a lot of yeses and we only have 10 spots. So here is the fast action bonus for those who are interested. If you are one of the first 10 students to enroll, right, we're going to throw in, on top of that, we're going to throw in 1 month of our new program that me and Aiden are putting together called the College Success Academy. So for this one, right, with College Admission Academy, I help you get into college. But now, once you're in college, now what, right? Do you know that first years in college, there's a 30% dropout rate. Why? Because they have no clue what they're doing, right? You hear the stories of all the Ivy League students, right? They all struggled so much, but if they had someone tell them exactly what to do, just like you guys say, you guys came here because you want to learn from those who went through the journey already, right? In our College Success Academy, we'll teach you guys exactly what classes to do, what majors to do, what you need to do for your career path, what classes you got to take, how you have a network, how do you get research opportunities, how you get internship opportunities, how to create a college resume at this level as well too. That is in College Success Academy. We're throwing that in free as well too. Right? Whoa, they're all crazy. They're all going wild, man. Right? And that's not all again also, right? Also, Access Scholarship has a special group coaching program, right? In that one, Aiden breaks down scholarships. She breaks down money tips for you guys. Because money, for me, the first big question I get all the time is how to get a college. Next biggest question that my DMs literally today was all, hey, I got in, but I can't afford it. Hey, I got in, but I need money, right? I'm sending every single person to Aiden because Aiden is the true expert when it comes to graduating debt-free. Right? So she's throwing together a group coaching programs to help you guys make sure you guys graduate debt-free as well too and make that money. Who would be happy with more money? I would be super happy with more money. All right. And that's not all as well, too. We want to up it even more because, again, we are Access the Advantage. We don't give you guys the true unfair edge. You're going to get a one-on-one strategy call with Aiden from Access College. She'll tell you exactly what you need to do in the future. And you get a call with me to share exactly what you need for college admissions as well, too. These are private one-on-one calls with you and your family so we can help your family create the perfect program for you to succeed in your life. With the group coaching is awesome, but how can you get even better? That one-on-one experience, right? So in this strategy call, we work one-on-one with you together. You work with me and your parents to figure out the route you need to take for your higher education goals. Then you will work with Aiden one-on-one to figure out your money side of everything. How can you come up with the money that you need so you can graduate debt-free and not stress out about paying back all the loans? How crazy is that? That is super crazy. Super, super crazy. So throwing it all in, you're going to get the College Admission Academy. You're going to get Let's Get Professional ebook. You're going to get the plug and play templates. You're going to get the office hours coaching call. You're going to get the College Success Academy. You're going to get the Access Scholarship group coaching program. You're going to get a one-on-one call with Aiden and a one-on-one call with Coach Tony. Who's ready for the link? Who is ready for that link? We'll drop the link right after the raffle. So that's it. We'll drop. So back to you, Aiden. Oh, I think you are muted.
Good. We're going to now pick the $500 scholarship winner. Thank you, Tony, for reminding me. Just in terms of choosing, we have everyone in the chat, assuming that you're all still here now. I'm going to do a very random scroll, and the person that I pick, hopefully you're still on the call. If you're not on the call, then you're obviously not winning. If you are on the call, then you can type in, then feel free to type your email in the chat and we will reach out to you afterwards. So I'm doing a scroll here. Scroll. We have our $500 scholarship winner is, drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
Diego Barcenas. I may have pronounced your last name wrong, but Diego, you are the $500 scholarship winner. Everyone, congrats, Diego. Claps all around. So Diego, feel free to reach out to us, whether it either put your email in the chat, if you're comfortable with doing that.
Here.
He's here?
Yeah, he's here.
Amazing. So either put your email in the chat or we can reach out to you because we have your email from the original sign-up sheet, and we will reach out to you to go through the details of how you will get your prize. So congrats, and thank you everyone for staying on and attending Access the Advantage Ivy League Edition. Stay tuned because right after this, Tony's going to be dropping the link so that you can access all of that bundle of success just for yourself for only $37. So be ready for the link to drop. And I think with that, we are complete. Right, Tony?
We are done. And I'm dropping a link. You guys ready? You got to type fast. It's only 10. So everyone's going to get everything in the orange, right? So everyone's going to get the College Admission Academy. Everyone's going to get the ebook. Everyone's going to get templates and the office hours calls. However, only the first 10 is going to get the second 4, the College Success Academy, Access Scholarships, the call with Aiden, and the call with me. You guys ready? We're going to drop it in 5. Before that as well, too, a little teaser again. If you want to, feel free to follow us on Instagram as well, too. You can follow Aiden at Access Scholarships, and you can follow me at CoachTonyLee.com. And Aiden, is this our only Access the Advantage event ever?
This is the first one.
This is the first
you guys
one.
are the participants and the attendees of our very first Access the Advantage event.
Yeah, so teaser, there's going to be a second one soon. Who's excited for the second one? I'm super pumped. We have all details. We're keeping it a secret now, but you guys will find out soon. We'll be sending an email out exactly when event 2 will launch. And the link to sign up for ATA Success launches right now. You can go to start.collegeadmissionsecrets.com/ATA Success. One more time, that's start.collegeadmissionsecrets.com/ATA Success. This link ends today. So if you want to be the first 10, you guys get the blue. And if you want to be part of the package in general, sign up now. Today, by midnight, this link does die. So, so definitely do it. So if you can't get it, just take a quick screenshot of it. start.collegeadmissionseekers.com/ATA success. You have any final words, Aiden?
No final words from me. Thank you all so much for attending. We hope that this was equal parts informative and enjoyable, and everything else, that every other positive word that I could have inserted in there, that's what we hope this event was for you guys. So thank you so much for attending, and we can't wait to see you at further Access the Advantage events.
All right, cool. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.
Bye, everyone.